morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Our first talk of the morning in this room is going to be live coding for art, sounds, and visuals by Joenio, Marques at Costa, who's coming from Brazil, but living in France. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Raul. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Well, what I would like to do here is just more like a brainstorming around this topic inside the Debian community. I am doing live coding for a while, and what I feel is I think there are opportunities in Debian to improve the Debian environment in general to be more easy to do live coding. Then I will start just giving a very short introduction about the topic. And what is live coding? Live coding is a kind of art, but also is can be defined as some programming languages or tools. And the main goal of those live coding tools is to provide a kind of interface to generate sounds or visuals or any other kind of outputs through programming language in a kind of environment where we can evaluate live and evaluate and improvise or create live. And there is a strong community around the world in this topic. And I would be very happy to see this community growing inside Debian, and I am happy that all of you are here because I think we can do something in this way. I will show first, I will do a demo session here showing the thing working. For example, I have already, is it possible to read? Okay, it's good. I have already installed and configured in my laptop one environment named Tidal Cycles. I have this environment here installed, and I will execute it just to see it in action. And this sound we are listening here is being produced by this code. And this is a programming language where we can continue modifying the code and evaluating the code, and it continues. Then I can play it like an instrument. I can do presentations live, or also I can use in my place to produce sound, to record something, or also it can be used in many other contexts. But what we have is almost all of those environments, and Tidal Cycles is included in this. What I'm going to say is the setup is a little bit tricky. It's we need to install some tools by hand. Part of the stack is available on Debian as packages, but not everything. To have for example, to be able to do it, to be able to execute this and to have this kind of environment working, we have a stack more or less like this. We have the sound system that it's the first level. It can be, in case of Debian, it can be jack or pipe wire. On top of it, we have SuperCollide, that it's a software synthesizer engine, but also a programming language. On top of it, we have tidal cycles and we have a plugin in a text editor to connect with tidal cycles and to be able to send the message to the Super Collider, and Super Collider produce the sound. And for example, Super Collider is packaged on Debian. It works very well. We just need to type apt install Super Collider, it works like a charm. But tidal cycles not, for example, and the steps to install tidal cycles, it's a little bit hard. And then, if you go here in the link of in the schedule, you find here at the end this link, and I would like to invite you to enter in this link, and then we can try to write it down some ideas that arise here today. And then I will start talking about the ideas I proposed to this agenda, and I will do a open and start asking if you want to propose or recommend or say something. And the idea is more to collaboratively brainstorm, create, propose something. And then, if possible, later from this we can start working in improving Debian to be more user-friendly, in order to Debian be more user-friendly to people who is interested in live coding. And then, for example, I would like to start, for example, presenting a little bit the status of some live coding environments. As I said, for example, Super Collider is already packaged on Debian, and the installation is super easy. And tidal cycles is packaged on Debian, but for example, it's outdated. In Debian, we have the version 1.2, and the upstream is already in version 1.8.2, for example. There is another program language, another environment to produce sounds and music using live coding named Sonic Pi. It's based on the syntax of Haskell or Ruby language, but it's not packaged on Debian, for example. It's Chuck, that is also another live coding program language. It's packaged on Debian. Foxdoc is another program language also to do the same. Very similar as this one here, but it's based on Python. There is no Debian package for this. And we have many others program languages. If you are interested in discover, in this link here, there is a huge list of many different programming languages. It's possible to find, for example, those kind of environments in any programming language, JavaScript, Haskell, Java, etc. Then, for example, now what I would like to ask if you see any other opportunity to what kind of work could be done in Debian, or what kind of other package you see could be included in the list, in one list of packages that could be interesting to include, to working on, or well, what do you think about the top key? What do you think if it makes sense to create this kind of group inside Debian? Because what I see, for example, live coding is something that it crosses many different program languages, And what I see that historically in Debian, I see communities around programming languages. For example, we have the Perl team, Python team, and we have teams around the programming language. But in this case, for example, it's not possible to work in this way. I don't know if it makes sense to create like a live coding group or subgroup inside Debian, or if, for example, make more sense to go inside each team to, for example, tidal cycles is Haskell. Maybe there is a Haskell team, makes sense to go there in this group and to work there, or maybe it's useful to create another structure or another group or another kind of organization. Then all of those questions that are initial questions that I think would be interesting to discuss just as a starting point. But I would like to listen you also. What do you think? What other questions we should ask? And what answers we already have? Because for sure, some questions that I have in my mind, we have answers already. Then I would like to open the mic. If someone would like to talk, please, that's the moment.
Yeah, I just put this line that I don't know if we will have RFPs for the missing packages for this kind of stuff.
Maybe not.
Yeah, probably that will be the first step. And have it under the umbrella of this little group that probably we might create. So I think it's a good start for it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I like the idea of having a specific team towards live coding in general, rather than the individual language, because the main focus here is the art, right? Specifically music, and having a team just focused on that, I think would be good. In terms of packaging, I think it can be a bit tricky because some of these stacks require configuration on the sound system, for example. So it definitely interferes when you're like running one of those, I think like Super Collider. When you're running that and you try to, in parallel, open the browser and play some video there, stream or something, you won't play because it hijacks the audio stack. So this is important to discuss, because how can we make sure a user will install a package and start using this, and if this thing is blocking the machine from doing other things, it can be a hassle. So yeah, this is something we need to tackle.
Then opening RFP would be maybe the first good step. Then, for example, if I want to package, let's say, Foxdot that is not available on Debian, the first step is the creation of RFP to this type of thing. Okay, good start. And another topic also that it's correlated, that I would like to share with you to see if you think that we can discuss it somehow is, for example, I see that today or tomorrow there will be both about art, Debian art team also, but I see that this Debian art team is more focused in, for example, it's a thing that it's more to create art to the next Debian release, for example. And I don't know, but I don't see any kind of thing happening in Debian in a continuously way, like in a frequently way, like working as any other groups, for example, creating things all the time, or having meetings, or both. So I don't know, any kind of practice the groups have to do it continuously. And I think that this is something that I think, I don't know if it makes sense to create this kind of community inside Debian. Like, for example, because one very interesting thing about this kind of language, for example, is when inside there are, it's very common to find events around live coding topics around in the internet and many countries. And usually people doing this kind of presentation, the screen is projected also like I am doing here. That like this, when one artist is playing, the artists project the screen together the sound or together the outputs that it's being generated. And this is a really, really amazing learning tool, because the people who is just watching, they are having fun following the music, but also at the same time they are learning, or they are at least discovering some new feature, some new function. And this is a completely different way of learning. It's not the same thing as any other way of learning. And I think that maybe it could be done inside the Debian group somehow. I don't know how, once per year, create an event or meetings every month. I don't know, just to share, to hack, to do this type of thing, to do workshops. And this will, I think, create how can I say, it will open rooms to improve Debian, I think. Because naturally, if Debian developers or Debian maintainers or Debian community face problems on this tool, the first step, natural step is, okay, let's fix Debian to improve it. Then I think Debian will be much more, will be, let's say, because there are many distributions customized to art, sound, video, etc. Like Ubuntu, I guess there is a distribution for that. But I think it's much better to use the vanilla distribution and to have the packages very well packaged and configured. And I think also that maybe if this community, if possible to create this community inside Debian, this kind of community can feed Debian itself with art, with the needs Debian has in terms of art creation. For example, every Debian release, Debian needs people to create art, okay, to create the background in the GNOME theme or KDE icons, etc. What I am saying here is just about music, but live coding is, and not only live coding, but this cross in-between area that it's in art, technology, science, etc. And it can include visual arts also, not only sound arts. What I'm showing here is related to music, sound, but visual arts also it's included in it. Then maybe I think this kind of community, if possible, can be interesting also to provide results to fit in the needs that the Debian project has. And I am mentioning this kind of situation just because that is the only one that I know. In every release, Debian needs the visual identity to be created, and for example, I think it can help. This type of community can help. And I don't know what someone would like to say something about this.
Yeah, I'm curious about the stack you showed at the beginning. Like in the top level, we have Atom, And we know Atom has been killed by a certain company that says loves Linux. So I don't know if there's something to make this layer agnostic for the editor, and how much work it is needed for that.
No, yes, it is agnostic. I choose to use Atom because from the point of view of a beginner is the simplest setup. And also the documentation about tidal cycles specifically, the tutorial provided in the Tidal Cycles website is based on Atom, the setup, the steps. But for example, usually I don't use Atom. In my case, I use Vim, and there is a plugin in Vim. Also, there are plugins for Emacs and other editors. Is agnostic because there is a connection. It's like Tidal Cycles creates a server, and the editor is the client that connects in the server. Then there are many options in the editor side.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, especially because the company that now controls Atom already announced that they're going to finish the development by the end of this year. So it's very important to us, if we want to keep using this stack, to replace that top one as soon as possible. Find alternatives, even for beginners.
Yeah.
There are good ones.
Yes. Sure. For example, in the specific case about tidal cycles, in the documentation, for example, there is documentation for Atom, that is what is more well documented, but also for VI, Vim, Emacs, Visual Source Code, and Sublime. And this is what they documented in the page, the official page of the project. But for sure, it's possible to develop it for any. It's possible to use it via command line, for example, also. I think I can use it here. Let's see. I don't know if it works. I will just try. Yes, you see? It works via command line also. Yeah. Then, that's it. Thank you. Haskell. Yeah, then there are many other languages. For example, this one is based on top of Haskell. Then I don't know Haskell, but if you know Haskell, you can use Haskell here to do everything. And also there is the Sonic Pi, for example. It's another one. Sonic Pi. It's based on. This one is based on Haskell or on Ruby. It's not Ruby, true Ruby. It's just the syntax is based on Ruby. The guy, the developer who did it, he started with Ruby, but then later he decided to go in his own way, and now it's not 100% compatible with Ruby language, but the syntax is almost Ruby. And also is another alternative that should do the same type of thing, but in another philosophy, for example, because here in these Untitled cycles, the philosophy is everything is running inside the infinite loop, and because that the name is cycles, because we have a cycle internally that it's being repeated all the time. But Sonic Pi, for example, doesn't follow the same idea. In Sonic Pi, you execute a code, it will generate the sound, and when the execution finishes, and it's over. If you want to do a loop, you should use some loop structures like for, while, etc. And then, someone would like to ask something, to propose something?
I don't have a microphone, so could you please... No, could you just repeat the question in simple? Is there a list of ITPs, a list of blocker bugs? I mean, you talk about various things, but list of tasks to anyone who wants to do that if you're working on.
Sorry?
Can you repeat his question for that? What? So he was asking if there is a list of ITPs or blockers.
No. I would like to understand if the ITP and the RFP, it's the same thing? Not. Because RFP is I am requesting someone to do, and ITP is I am saying that I am interested in do it. Yeah, it's open ITPs, or maybe I will add or ITP maybe. Yes, unfortunately we don't have, but yes, it's something that we should do. I will try to do it, but I need help because I don't know if I can do it alone.
Yeah, the thing is, because we are using multiple components, and they have to be talking to each other to achieve this, I think it's nice to have, to achieve a setup for title cycles, we need those and those packages ready, and then how they're gonna talk to each other. So it's nice to have this kits of packages we will have. And each one of them will have RFP, ITP, and then be packaged, and then,
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that it was mentioned that there were some problems with, for example, the point that some configuration might broke some audio stuff. I think it would be an idea to dump this knowledge into some document, just as starting to have this in mind and start for it. Yeah.
Like to start documenting, right?
Another question in terms of licenses for the sounds, because we can probably distribute something that is not Creative Commons or not free at all. So what are your concerns about it? Is there some repository to get the sounds, or how is it going on right now?
Yeah, that's It's a very, very interesting and important question. Would you like to?
Yeah, I normally I do some live coding. I'm still learning, but I do with Foxdot. And I try to always use my samples from freesound, freesound.org. All of the samples there are Creative Commons. So yeah, if we stick to that, and maybe some other sources, but it's kind of a guarantee. I think it's important to bring that up, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's an important question because, for example, in this case, this particular case of tidal cycles, it's using a library it's just a bunch of samples, and it's not every sample has free license. Some of the samples, yes, but not everything. And for example, the author, the guy who did this, he created it to create another project to replace it, where he started to do a review about the license and etc. But by default, what is being installed is this. Then, for example, if we package it on Debian, we should solve this kind of problem. We should create an alternative way to not install by default the default pack, but to install something else that it's free. And this is another topic that I think Debian can help the live coding community, because live coding community in general are made by artists that are not very well involved in technical aspects or even in license. Some of them are just artists who learned how to program, and sometimes also even in other aspects they are doing something that is already solved from the point of view of software engineering, but as they come from other areas, they repeat some kind of not very well good, I don't know, some architectures, I guess, could be improved. I am not saying that huge things in upstream, but small things like this kind of thing. For example, it's a good example that I think the use case in Debian could be a very, very useful use case to the live coding community who is building technology to this type of thing. And this example, this pack of samples, for example, it's one example. More questions? Commentary?
Yeah,
suggestions?
I think with the basic set of samples, it's enough to get started. So this could be, for example, supplied with as a library. But the user is part of the configuration as well, right? If you own some samples, you can use that. It wouldn't be a problem. But yeah, you have a lot of filters and stuff. So even with a small set of samples, you can tweak them and make different sounds out of the same samples with the filters. So yeah, I think it's good. But it's not something that I would be too concerned about, because that can be plugged in later. More samples, other libraries grow slowly. You don't need to supply a huge amount of samples. You just need a small one with they are free.
Then well, I think from my side, I finished my initial ideas, and we can continue discussing here, or we can play together if you want to play, to experiment. What else? Someone would like to propose something? Would like to listen some?
So this is my first contact with live coding, and I really like what you did and what you played for us. It was amazing, so thank you for that. You mentioned as well something about visuals. So if nobody has any other question, I would like to actually see some
Yeah.
visuals as well.
Sure.
So,
I will open here one programming language that is written in JavaScript, named Hydra. You can open it in your browser if you want to test. It's Hydra. Once that it's loaded in your browser, everything happens in the client side. We can even download the code and run it offline in our side. And for example, now I guess I will turn off the lights to be more easy to visualize the visual. Thank you. To see the visuals and the code also. For example, this animation we see is being generated by the code we are seeing here. Okay? I don't know how to program in this language, Hydra, but it's live coding also. For example, if I will change a parameter here, for example, instead of 0.25, I will put 10, and then I type out, enter. It evaluates, but it doesn't change nothing. Let me see something else. No. Come on. Let me try another example. When you click here in this button, it brings another, like a hello world sample from the community. Let me try to change it here. You see, it changed a little bit. If I evaluate, it changed. Then this is one option, Hydra. It's developed on top of JavaScript. And you don't need to install nothing, you just need to load it in your browser. You can use this site, that is the developer deployed it in her site. But you can download the source code, it's open source, it's free software, sorry, not open source, it's free software. And you can run it offline also. But you need to learn this language here. But it's JavaScript syntax, but there is a lot of specific functions, specific for Hydra. And one interesting thing about this environment is the developer who created it, she did a kind of, she started from the point of view of sound synthesizers, like oscillators, frequencies, etc., to produce visuals. Because usually the area inside the computer science related to visuals, it's based in other kind of concepts, like it's pixels, matrix, and triangles, and etc. The mindset is completely different from the mindset from the sound synthesis. And in this language, we have the mindset that comes from sound synthesis, but applied in visuals, to generate visuals. And it's possible to get, I don't know if this one is being, it's responding to the output, but some code, it's possible to respond to the, because I don't know if it's connected. Yeah, I think we don't have time to explore it, but it's possible to, what usually people do in the live coding community is usually some kind of presentations made by two persons, two doing, one doing sound and the other one doing visuals. And also they connect the sound with the visuals, where the visuals react to the sound, but at the same time, the person who is doing the visuals are also creating code creating code to modify the visuals, but also combining with the sounds live. And just to my last words, then I think we are almost in the end of the time. Today at 2 p.m. I am going to do a workshop in this topic, to do step by step how to set up. Yeah, thank you. It's good too. I'm going to do a workshop to do step by step how to set up tidal cycles. Then we will see every step. It will be at 2 p.m. It is in the schedule of the event. And also, I think tonight during the cheese and wine party, I am pretty sure that we will have a sound system and a screen there, where it's quite probable that I'll do some live presentation, and I invite you to join me to present something also, if you want, if you would like to. Yes, I finished. I think we have 3 or 1 minute for final questions, but I have finished. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joenio, for such an amazing conversation. It was really enlightening. Does anyone have any final questions? If not, let's give a round of applause to our amazing speaker.